Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Brian and Mr. Becker for Breaking Down Security.
Hello.
Wow, you sound really nice this week.
Oh. I didn't get more sleep than usual. I don't know.
Well, I enjoy seeing you a lot. I mean, last time I saw you, for those of you who don't understand the production that's going on, we did our podcast with Chris Sanders, the 2-episode podcast, like 36 hours ago. So we're now talking again online here. So, yeah, it's always good to see you. And I would ask you what's been going on this week, but it's only been 2 days.
Yeah. Nothing. What's been going on with you?
Learning things that scare me, like, licensing issues, which we'll talk about with our guest tonight. People in enterprises that use things like VirtualBox, if they're using it in a commercial environment, technically they may be running afoul of some licensing issues. If they're using the extensions plugin, for instance, that is a thing that needs to be licensed if you're using it in a commercial environment. So that was something I learned. We wrote a finding up for it for a customer just recently. So they found out about that and their face turned white because I was like, oh, look, Oracle is going to require you to license that if you're going to use it. And they're like, oh, God. Because you know how cheap licenses are for things from Oracle, so.
Yes, Oracle.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, don't I know?
Mm-hmm.
If you're in school, Oracle, the database is completely free.
Oh, I know.
You can download it and use it as much as you want.
Yeah, when I was a University of Phoenix a student back in 2008, 2009, I had a copy of Oracle database. Worked great for about 45 days, and then it stopped working. So, yeah. Anyway,
but for those 45 days, you were legit.
Oh, I was hot stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. So, yeah, speaking of tools and software that people can use, I'm going to bring on our interview this week. Ms. Berlin, sadly, Ms. Berlin is working on some training that she needs to have done before, I think, the end of the week. For layer 8, it has to do the attack framework. So she has some deadlines she has to do. So we're giving her the night off. So apologies to our interviewer. I'll make sure that, she's on the next time you come on. So, all right. So our interview, tonight is, I got Tanya Janca.
Janca. You got it. It's close enough. It's good.
Oh,
it's good.
Oh, God. She said close enough. Oh. Oh, God. And I thought I'd be all like, oh, well, if you're in Europe, is it Janca like in Sweden? No, it's not. It's,
Janca.
Janca, yeah. Oh, God's bless. Is it the special C, like with the little, does it look like the C with the little bit underneath, or?
I don't know. A lot of immigrants back in the day kind of anglicized their names. That's why it's Tanya instead of JA, because my parents thought that would be easier.
Right.
But then sometimes people say Tanya, and I'm like, oh, no, it's Tanya. Ah!
Yeah, Tanya is Tucker, and she's a country and/or Western singer. So
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And that sounds great. Tanya Tucker.
Yeah, my name got a little mangled, apparently, when our family came over. It was something else, and then I assume a surly TSA agent back in the day at Ellis Island changed the name because he or she didn't have anything better to do. But anyway, so Tanya, you're on Twitter as She Hacks Purple, and you do...
Yes, that's true.
Yep, and you do a lot of work with DevOps and OWASP. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you're at today.
Hi, I'm a giant nerd. I was a software developer for a long time, and then I got really obsessed with security. I met a hacker, and he kept trying to convince me. So I'm the exact opposite story of every other person that got into InfoSec. I got dragged, kicking and screaming into it. All these people were like, please come. You'll be really good at it. I'm like, no, software development's the best. I'm never leaving. But then eventually, after he just kept destroying my apps, and then of course I had to know how he did it, right? Then eventually he's like, I'm going to hire you and you can go attack this thing. And then I destroyed it really badly. And then eventually I got a better professional mentor.
Okay.
And it kind of went on from there. And then, and then I started doing public speaking sort of by accident. Like I started volunteering with OWASP, and then I realized that if you are the chapter leader of OWASP, that you get to choose which talks are happening, which is awesome because then you can decide, I really want to learn threat modeling. So then you just invite tons of awesome threat modeling people, and then they often say yes and come speak for you. So joke's on all of you. I got to learn for free. But then we never had any female speakers ever.
Oh.
Ever. And I would invite women and they would say no. And so the other guy that ran it with me was like, you have to do it. And I was like, no way. And then after a few years, he's like, you're doing it. And I was like, I'm not. And then my professional mentor put on the internet that I was going to speak at B-Sides the next year. I'm like, no, who said that? He's like, B-Sides said it. The Twitter account said it. It's happening. I'm like, no. And so then I did it and I didn't die, which is good because I thought I might, because my demo failed. It was so bad. And I was the only woman that had ever spoken at our B-Sides. And then one of the speakers later in the day trashed my talk during his talk and trashed me. It was so bad.
Dang.
What's his name? What's his name so that we may, bomb his house?
He apologized after and said it was a language barrier because he's French Canadian. So he had said some people, like we saw during Ms. Janca's talk, some people know security and some people just don't. And I was like, that's not cool. And he's like, yeah, I said some people don't know security and some people really do, like you. I'm like, that's not what you said.
Yes, Quebecois.
I live in Quebec. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I think some people are funny and some people try to be funny. And it's like much better to just, if you're not a funny person, just own that on stage because trying to be funny is so bad.
Well, yeah, there's one way to be funny, and if you're not it, then it's going to fall very flat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So then I do public speaking a lot.
Oh, that's
also,
cool.
I used to be a professional musician, and I was briefly a professional actress and a professional, like I did comedy and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I am funny, and I like seeing your face. You're like, well then.
Well, have you done like stand up or something?
No, I really like playing musical instruments and singing. So we did how Adam Sandler used to do like songs and a guitar. So I would drum and tell jokes. And we had like classic songs like Cougar Lair, where I would just say bad pickup lines and drum and then just scare audience members.
Nice. So you're like Phoebe from Friends with Ugly Cat or Smelly Cat.
Except for in key.
Oh, well, yeah, you probably sang better. Right. Very, very nice. Are you going to be speaking anywhere in the near future?
Only everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to be speaking at the Diana Initiative in Vegas, which is pretty exciting. I spoke there last year, and they were just so wonderful. I'm speaking at DevSecCon in Seattle, which is a conference only dedicated to DevSecOps. And I met a lot of really cool people there. The other 2 times that I went, it was pretty awesome. I'm speaking at AppSec Day in Melbourne because I love OWASP. I'm speaking at LastCon in Texas because I love OWASP.
Oh, nice.
I'm speaking at Sector in Toronto because I love Toronto. And I'll probably also speak at OWASP while I'm there. You're seeing a trend.
Cool. Yeah, Sector. I've heard a lot of good things about them. So
it's the biggest one in Canada. It's really big. I mean, 10% of our entire population lives in one city.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people there.
It's amazing. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about why we have you on. So you hit me up on Twitter and you said, hey, I have your list of people that I'd like to get on the show, but one thing at a time. I have to have the the first person on the list on. So you do a lot of different things. One of the things you've talked about is DevOps tools for free or cheap. And when you told me DevOps tools for free or cheap, and I'm thinking, well, they're all on GitHub, right? And GitHub is free, and Docker is free, and Python's free, and Jenkins is free. What other tools are free and cheap that I need? Okay,
so here's the thing. So there's DevOps tools, and then there's security tools within DevOps, right? So well-done DevOps should produce secure apps, right? Mm-hmm. So that means you need to use some security tools, and there's like a bunch of different strategies you could use to try to create secure software. So first thing, your software supply chain. So you need to verify that your third-party components are secure. So if you have an open source project, you can use like Contrast or Sneak. Dependency check is just free for everyone, even if you use it professionally. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of tools that will check your third-party components, Weight Source Bolt. However, they all check in different ways. So I really suggest you use two. Definitely two. But then for SaaS, static application security testing, so like code review, but on steroids with a tool that parses things for you. There's Weight Source Bolt. There's a bunch of paid ones. So I don't have that many free options on that one, but there's Sonar Cloud, which is free and really good. Mm-hmm. And if that's the only one that does like a pretty deep static code analysis that's free, and it's kind of out of band, so you can run it, but then you get the report kind of later, and it doesn't take 500 years. It also does like code quality. It does linting to make sure that you're actually like following the letter of the law in regards to like how your language was described by the people that created it. It's like the grammar police, but for whatever programming language you're using.
Right.
Because a lot of developers take creative, poetic licensing with their coding. I know, because I am one of them. Oh. Okay, so then there's DAST, like dynamic application security testing. So instead of looking at like the actual written code, like if then else, you're looking like you're basically fuzzing, like throwing garbage at and scripts at like a running application on a web server. So of course my favorite is OWASP Zap. There's a bunch of free ones for this one. Okay, so in your pipeline, there's not as many because you could use like Skipfish, Vega, Arachne, etc. Those don't really go in a pipeline that well as far as I know. Zap's really good. Burp Suite's pretty cheap. It's $2,000 for an enterprise license. I know that that's not free, but compared to all the other tools, which I won't name by really big vendors, that are like $42,000, $50,000, $60,000, $80,000.
Wow.
That's cheap by comparison. And it's like a license for your entire company to use as many times as you want per year. Sorry. So that's pretty cheap comparatively speaking, but Zap is free. Right. And that's pretty good. And I wouldn't suggest doing like a full dynamic application security testing, like smashing the crap out of something in your pipeline because it takes forever. But Zap is free. So then there's
I have a question about Zap. So one of the issues I've got with Burp and Zap, both of them are written in Java, and it's the only reason I have Java on my box.
Yeah.
And do you have to buy a Java license to be able to use those in your environment?
Oh, I don't know. I thought Java was free, but you're right. In an enterprise, you have to pay for things in a way that you don't as an individual.
Yeah, I don't know myself. I was just wondering because depending on if you're using the JDK or the SDK, there's some licensing issues now where if you're using it in the enterprise, I think you have to pay for that. So things and weird. Wow. It's another Oracle product. Weird. So
that's an excellent point because honestly, I didn't think about that at all.
Yeah, because I know applications that use Java are supposed to actually go and license that. I don't know how. quick Oracle is about, doing that or, coming after companies, but you don't want to be the company that they come after and find out that your stuff isn't there.
No, I actually went to work somewhere once and they're very, very strict with the licensing. And I mean, like, I definitely, as a software developer, I believe software developers should be paid for their work, right? And as someone who personally owns copyright, I'm a proponent, right? But I was like, wow, this place is really strict. And it turned out that a guy had gone to a conference and was bragging to someone really drunk, I guess, was bragging to a salesperson for a company, a big company, ha, 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 like, we all use your product and none of us are paying. And then they had to settle out of court for millions and millions of dollars.
Right.
And so that guy wasn't very popular.
Nope.
What an ass.
Mr. Becker, you had a question?
Well, IBM has Java as well. So, or they create Java. You can download IBM Java. Mm-hmm. So there's an alternative there.
Yeah, and then there's the OpenJDK or ICE-T or whatever, which sometimes works. There's some specific Java-isms, Oracle Java-isms that you have to worry about. But I think ICE-T is also free as well. So that may be an option. I don't know if Zap and Burp will run on those, but it's something worth checking. So,
actually, I should talk to the Zap team about that because yeah, that would be a big concern for them because the whole thing about the OWASP Z-Attack proxy, or ZAP as we call it affectionately, project is they want security to be free.
Right. And there may be people yelling at us right now. It's like, no, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And I apologize if you are yelling at us. You can send us your email and tell us how we're not correct or I'm not correct. But licensing is definitely a thing. We mentioned it on like I said, in an engagement recently that they're using it in they're not only using it, but they're deploying it to customers to be using in their environment, VirtualBox. And I was like, what's the licensing like on that? And now they've got a couple thousand boxes out there where they may have to license the extensions for VirtualBox.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, when you run Zap, you have to install it on a virtual machine in the cloud. It doesn't run it's not like SonarQube, for instance. I installed SonarQube. You can run it on a server, or you can run Sonar Cloud, and they will run it for you, so you don't have to have a server. And so, yeah, I have Zap on a virtual machine, and it's my only virtual machine because I run everything as platform as a service in my little cloud instance or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's actually really expensive to run the VM. And so, of course, I want to write a serverless function that turns it off and then turns it on. But, oh my gosh, nice. I'm going to have a really slow pipeline. No one in production would tolerate my crap.
Right. Right. So we mentioned, I've got something down here, freemium software or trialware. Is that useful, or is the fact that it's hamstrung a problem, or, is it just something you shouldn't deal with at all if you can keep from it?
It depends on if you want to do a one-off, right? I know, so I used to do web app pen testing, and a lot of places would call me in, and I was their entire budget for security. And I would just run a scan on their network. I would scan a bunch of things with Burp Suite and Zap. I'd punch things in the face. I'd do some quick threat models, just go through it and look at everything I could in the short amount of time I had. And that was all they were ever going to get. Mm-hmm. That was their whole deal. And I would tell them, do you want me to show you how to use Zap? They're we're not allowed. It's, we might break some things. We're not allowed any tools of our own. You have to do, and they didn't have a pipeline. There's a lot of people still in waterfall, right? Mm. Or they call it agile because they have a scrum meeting every morning, but then the scrum's an hour and it's not actually a scrum. Right. And everyone has to kind of deal with the situation they're given and do their best. Not everyone's in DevOps. Right. Oh, it's so nice though. It's so nice. It's like driving in a really fancy car. I have this pipeline that just checks everything for me now. I'm this is magical. Why didn't I always have one of these? Well,
it's useful when your pipeline is working well, and you do have security in it. You seem to be on board with the DevSecOps thing. There's a lot of developers out there that don't see the sec in DevSecOps or see it as a hump to get over. Yeah.
making a lot of videos about ways where things could be easier. So I'm part of this OWASP project called DevSlop, like sloppy DevOps.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is it's a place where we're allowed to make mistakes. And it's, where do we as security people fit into DevOps? Say, how do we weave ourselves through in a way where we're not messing up all of their mojo, but we actually influence them to make more secure products at the end. So like a really quick win that's free. So Qualys, like they sell tools, right? They have a free plugin called SSLlabs. So there's a website. I don't know if you've ever run a site through it, but basically we have our set that if we don't get an A, don't publish. So if my certificate has expired, it's going to give me a warning. It's going to give me 30 days notice. There's problems, and it's free. And it runs really quickly, like under 30 seconds, super fast.
Yep.
Setting it up was literally 2 button clicks.
Right on.
Everyone should have it. Everyone.
I've got another one for you. I use one, Dr. Wetter on Twitter. He has one called Test SSL. It's a bash script that you can run. So you don't have to go to a website and, have to possibly publish your URL and, so people can actually look through ones that have been previously scanned. So for AppSec, if you don't want people to go, oh, look, bobsbaitshop.com is on here. Oh, and they got an F, because if you don't click the button to not publish, your stuff ends up in a list. So
for the pipeline version, I guess, so like in Azure DevOps, I can't speak for all the other pipelines like Jenkins and Circle CI and all that. You have to check the box in order to publish it to the website, as opposed to it being the default that they ruin your OppSec and tell you like, Tanya got an F.
Oh, okay.
I got an F for a long time, just FYI.
Right.
I did not get a good mark immediately. It took a while.
Yep. So talk about the DevSlop stuff some more. How many what kind of topics do you guys talk about? Because you said it's where people can make mistakes, but what kind of, can you give us an example?
Sure. So we actually have like a bunch of different modules because it turned out we're all interested in different things. So Nicole Becker and I started it together, and she created a vulnerable app called Pixie. It's like Instagram, but awful and wildly insecure. And then we would run workshops just smashing it in front of people because that's our good time. And then I wanted to create a pipeline. So I just kept adding things to the pipeline, but I couldn't figure out how to share it. So it's really hard to share a DevSecOps pipeline. I'm like, I'm going to open source my pipeline. But it turns out, all the different licensing, if someone takes my JSON or my YAML, it's like, it looks like a bunch of vomit when you try to import it into somewhere. It just does not work. Oh. So I still wanted to share. So I just started making little videos about it. And my friend Nancy joined. And then Nancy's like way more organized than me and also doesn't fly all over the planet to do public speaking all the time. So she's like, we're doing this day and this is happening. She's like, shh. And I'm like, yes. So she's really good because she organizes us and like makes sure things happen.
Nice. I could use one of those.
And she goes to the show with me and like just like makes things run smoothly, magically. Like when everything looks like it's going well, it's like probably Nancy.
She's the director.
Yeah. And then Franziska, she works with WAF, like web application firewalls, and she's like a regex ninja. And so she writes the really complicated regular expressions for mod security. So she like writes the core rule set with the other team. Yeah. And so she's like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to make a pipeline and I'm going to put this vulnerable app in it. I'm going to put a WAF in front of it. And then I'm going to put like all these hacker tools attacking it so that we can tune the WAF automatically as it goes through the pipeline to make sure when you put your app in production, like the WAF never breaks it.
Oh, that's sick. Yeah, that's really
she has
nice.
like 2 different pipelines where she's just like, yeah.
Nice.
And she has so many more things that she's like cooking up. And then Nancy now wants to start looking at containers. And then I'm kind of excited about blockchain right now. Microsoft released our first blockchain, like technology, like how to make one. And it's Solidity based. So I was at AppSec Global last week and I took this blockchain hacking course that was in Solidity. Every vulnerability is new. And there's new ones, totally different ones, and it's awesome.
We may need to have you come back because I've been wanting to do a blockchain show for, I don't know, ever, but I don't see any real reason to have blockchain in products.
Yeah, I was arguing with my friend Terry like last night about it. She's like, when would you want a blockchain? And I'm like, yo, every time you buy a house in Canada, you have to do a thing called a title search because they still have crap on paper. And then you can't find it for if your house is old. So my previous house was like 120 years old. So of course you can't find it. So then you have to get something called title insurance because no one's like, people are like, I don't know, maybe you own it, maybe you don't, I'm not sure. So you get this insurance and everyone's like, I'm pretty sure Tanya owns it. It's probably cool. But what if all that was on a blockchain and then you could just check, actually the property line's here. So I had sort of a weirdness with the property line. And when I was attached and when we did some construction, it turned out that they were actually like their backyard was 18 inches onto my property. And I know 18 inches doesn't sound like a lot, but when your entire backyard is only 12 feet across, 18 inches is a giant amount. And then they built a fence like 3 more inches onto the property. And I was just like, But if you had all this stuff in a public ledger, you could just go check.
Right.
I'd be like, no, that's mine. And actually, here are the dimensions. And here's like the coordinates on my GPS. And so move your fence, stop. But like, also, I just am awkward as well. So I was like, maybe if I just pretend it's not happening, it's not.
Well, you just knock on your neighbor's door and go, here's a summons to court for your fence that you built on my property 2 feet deeply. And oh yeah, by the way, the fence is now mine. And that nice gazebo over there is mine because you built it on my yard. So
yeah, I moved and like that worked really well. But like,
oh, you just avoided the issue altogether then. Okay. Yeah, no, I understand, but blockchain has some good ideas. I know a friend of mine, she's working on some secure ledger stuff for financial firms, trying to make sure that everything matches up for accounting purposes, and I get that. But there's too many companies out there throwing the idea of blockchain around, and I'm just like, you're watering it down. And
if a database will do all the things that you need, if trust is already there, you don't need a blockchain. You're just being fancy for no reason.
But marketing, but coolness. It's got a blockchain in it.
Well, I mean, they could just say synergy 3 times. There you go. Right? And then they could say crypto and mean cryptocurrency. And then you're like, no.
I have AI crypto blockchain currency. So yeah, Breakcoin.
You need like a serverless crypto blockchain currency.
Go.
DevSecOps.
Nice. Bingo.
Cloud?
You forget.
Solution?
As a service.
Sorry, I'm so dumb. Of course it's as a service. But yeah, so I was thinking like the next module to DevSlop might be like Betty the Buggy blockchain. Because I was thinking of making like Betty coins and then having everyone steal them. Like it would be fun to make my own cryptocurrency, and the point of the cryptocurrency is for everyone to just steal it from me.
Right. Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to see something like that. The only problem is it would be like Dogecoin. It'd be something that would actually get popular, and then you'd be like, well, wait, this is supposed to be an insecure coin, But then it'll get enough money, and then you can escape to Bali and take the millions of dollars with you.
During my course, we made our own cryptocurrency, and I don't know if you know, but everything's like to the power of 18 in Ether, and so I didn't do my my decimals correctly, and then I accidentally gave someone 1 billion instead of 1. Oops. In my class, and then he's like, "Don't worry, Tanya, I'm a big fan, and I read your blog, so I'll give you 500 million." Mick coins back. I named my coin Mick coins like McDonald's because I'm like that. And he's like, so I gave you 500 million Mick coins, and then we high-fived. It was great because he's a nice hacker.
That's cool. Yeah. So where did you take this blockchain class at?
At Global AppSec. So OWASP has So OWASP is this international nonprofit. And so that means we're broke, right? That's what we do. We are a community that doesn't have that much money, and that's okay. So we have these giant conferences, and they're actually just giant fundraisers. And then that pays for everything the foundation does.
Oh, nice.
And so they have training before the conference, and there was a blockchain hacking training. And if you are a leader for OWASP, your benefit is that you are allowed to go to the global AppSec conferences for free. And if you are the first one to ask, and you ask really nicely, you can have a free seat in one of the trainings. Wow. There's one seat reserved for a leader. And a lot of the leaders are more advanced than I am in their careers. Like a lot of the people that are chapter leaders have worked in security like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and they have honed their craft. However, I've only worked in security, I guess, like 4 or 5 years now. And I also just constantly switch topics because that is exciting for me. So I'm doing cloud, I'm doing AppSec, I'm doing serverless. And now I'm like, oh, blockchain's exciting. I'm running over there. Oh, I'm doing .NET. I'm doing like Python. I'm doing, do you know what I mean? And so for me, it's like super exciting to learn a brand new thing. But for a lot of people, are like, that's annoying. Why would you want to learn a brand new thing for no reason?
Right.
Like for me, it's amusing. But for other people, it's not. So I kind of knew there would be a seat available because I'll just take the weirdest course.
That makes sense.
Like there was a DevSecOps master course, and I'm like, that's going to be full.
Oh yeah. I can definitely see that.
It was, but the teacher, Mick, he was patient and like not all training's good. And it was really, I have to say, this guy was awesome. Like most of the trainers, they know their stuff, but they're not necessarily patient. They're not necessarily good teachers. They're not necessarily willing to adjust the pace. So of course, like I'm a jackass and I just like go ahead and I'd be like, can you give me a hint, but not tell me the answer? He's like, yeah. Like, don't tell me yet, Mick.
So you just
I want to struggle more.
So it's just a free class for you? I assume others have to pay for the class sometimes?
Yeah, others have to pay. Yeah,
okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
Right.
I think like leaders kind of pay on the 5 million hours that they put in for free to the foundation. That's the idea. Yep. But yeah.
Okay. Cool. Right.
But I think it's an amazing benefit. So if I can go, I definitely do. And I'll take a seat in like any class. Like, even if it's not my thing, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go.
Well, you're going to learn something. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure you're going to learn. And I also love seeing how other people teach because I give like tons of workshops. So I learn how to do a thing and then I give workshops at conferences or at meetups or whatever. And I learn something new every time. And even if the teacher is bad, I often learn more. Because I see how the class reacts. I'm like, oh, note to self, do not do that.
And that was it for episode 1 with Tanya. Going to pick it up next week where we talk about mentoring and the WOSEC initiatives. If you're interested in talking to Tanya, you'll find her on Twitter at SheHacksPurple. And you can follow WOSEC and all of the initiatives of the Women of Security at WOSEC Tweets, WOSCC Tweets. And that's it for the week. We've got a lot going on here. So if you're interested in hanging out with the podcast and in our community, we have a Slack channel. You can join us by sending an email to bds.podcast@gmail.com or sending us a DM on our Twitter over at Brakesec, Brakesec. Miss Berlin's doing the Hackers Health villages for those of you who go to conferences, Circle City Con, GurCon, DerbyCon. She did Layer 8 last month, Show Me Con, B-Sides ATX, Megan Roddy and her do it. If you're interested in getting involved with that, please hit up Hackers Health on Twitter. You can also, they're looking for ambassadors because apparently this is very popular now with a lot of conferences. So if you're interested in perhaps helping out with that and volunteering your time to do a village at a conference, B-Sides, what have you, reach out to Hackers Health on Twitter, or you can hit up Miss Berlin on her personal Twitter at InfoSister, INFOSYSTIR. And so Mr. Becker does an application called LogMD. It's a Windows forensics tool. He's the head developer of that. If you're looking to understand how to better protect your systems and use logging to do so, to detect bad actors and things, you can go to log-md.com. Or if you're interested in asking Mr. Becker questions, he's on Twitter at Betcherpwned, BOETTCHERPWNED. I've got a conference going on, InfoSec Campout. If you're interested in doing a camp out here in the Seattle area, or, if you want to travel up to Seattle in August 24th, we'll be camping the night of the 23rd and the night of the 24th, as well as having a conference where we'll have speakers. We're just about to close up our CFP for the conference. We've got a good number of speakers. We're going to have to figure out who's good and who isn't in this case. So if you're interested in doing that, you can go to www.infosecampout.com. And we have tickets, Eventbrite links on there, social contract, call for ideas. So if you have ideas on camping, like, artisanal s'mores, if you will, we have that available. So you can check that out. We're also on Twitter at InfoSec Campout, all one word. You can follow the show, of course, on Brakesec, Brakesec, and you can follow me on Twitter, Brian Brake, BryanBrake. We're on iTunes, Google Play Store. There's a number of different places. I use Podcast Addict myself. TuneIn Radio, Spotify. We're on Spotify, iHeartRadio. There's almost no place you can't find us. So if you're interested in telling people, there's a number of different places you can find us. Also on iTunes, if you could leave us some positive feedback, that gets us more visibility, which could get us, on cool things like the new and trending type of podcasts. So feedback on iTunes is even more important than it used to be. So if you've gotten benefit from this episode or other episodes, please hit us up on Twitter and hit us up on iTunes. A couple more things before we go. We have a Patreon, so if you're interested, and we use it like tip jars. So if you've gotten educational use out of the podcast, if you've had anything that's helped you in any way meaningful, if you've, you use our Slack, for instance, and gotten benefit out of any of the things that Brakesec has produced or helped you, along in your career, feel free to go to our website and check out the show notes for any of our shows. We have our Patreon link there, or PayPal if you decide you don't like Patreon. Some people don't. I'd like to thank Adam Q for donating some money and being a patron to our podcast. We really appreciate it. He's giving money that helps out with hosting, pays for the Zoom that we have every month, for our book clubs and our CTF club and our SIM club. Also helps out with hosting costs and just, time and effort to get a podcast like this out every week. We try to do our best to get out quality product, and, we try to get out something every week for everybody to enjoy. So thank you again, Adam, for being a good sponsor of our show. One last item, I know is very busy, but it's been a really odd week. So we got an email from a gentleman talking about all-day DevOps. Derek Weeks, he hit me up on LinkedIn, said he has a all-day online conference. They say All Day DevOps co-founded the conference 4 years ago. 30,000 people participate in 5 tracks, including DevOps tracks. We have no vendor pitches during the conference, and it's free to attend. We'd love your help promoting this year's conference to your community as an awesome educational opportunity. I agree with that. So looked it up, alldaydevops.com. You can find all the videos from the 2018 season or track last year. They'll be back November 6th, 2019. So if you're interested in checking that out, go to alldaydevops.com. And thank you to, Derek and Elisa, her last name is Elisa Walters, so of Sonatype, actually. They're not a sponsor, but, it looks like some excellent content if you're wanting to go check that out. So, All right. Well, that was it. Next week, you're going to hear Tanya and us talk about mentorship and women of security and some of the other things that they're doing there and initiatives to help get people, who are not, are not getting as many opportunities as the rest of people in InfoSec. So, it's going to be a very interesting discussion. If you're needing a mentor, you want to understand how to be a mentor or be a better mentor in this case, or, what does it take to be a mentee in this case? You'll definitely find out all that information next week. So, stay safe, take care of yourselves, be nice to one another. You're the only you have, so take care of you. And we'll talk to you again soon.